This presentation is to give you a brief overview of what a literature review is and how you can conduct a literature review for your research project. So, what is a literature review? Literature review is a written summary of journal articles, books, and other documents that describes the past and current state of information on a given topic. Literature review can be a standalone study, which means that the purpose of our research is to understand what is out there on a topic of interest and how those studies are conducted, and etc. There are even journals that only publishes those review studies, such as Review of Educational Research, published by the American Educational Research Association. You will find some examples of those standalone review studies from our course Blackboard. More often, you will see a literature review section in a research study. The purpose of our literature review within a research study is to identify what is already known and what you can add to the existing literature. So the review section will show cooperating and conflicting evidence that are provided by existing studies, distinguishing things that are confirmed and new questions that requires further examinations. Also, your literature review can provide evidence for the importance of your study, highlighting what you can contribute. You can obtain some idea of how you will design your study, such as data collection, choice of measurements, or analytic approach from the existing literature. In general, any literature review will involve the 5 steps. First, you will identify key terms so you can search the sources that you will be using for your literature review. Once you locate enough materials, you will evaluate and select the literature that will go into your literature review. Then you will organize the literature to serve for your need, and finally, you will write a literature review. So first, you will establish questions that will drive your review. You can literally come up with questions that you want to understand what is out there. Or you can identify key terms that are related to your research topic and major concepts. Another way of identifying the key terms is generating a working title. For example, I gave a tentative title for the example research, The Effect of Differential Tuition and Low-Income Students' Choice of Major and Graduation Outcomes. So from this title, we can pick out some key terms such as differential tuition, major choice, retention, graduation, and low-income students. Once you are set with your key terms, next is to locate sources. You can find and collect materials from various channels. First and probably most useful channel is the academic databases. Although there are thousands and thousands of databases, in this presentation, we will focus on the Educational Resources Information Center called ERIC. For social science literature, you can also look at the Web of Science and Scopus databases for your research. You can also use tools such as Google Scholar or go to specific journals that publish works that focus on your research topic. For example, you can start with looking at the articles published in the Journal of Issues in Intercollegiate Athletics if your research topic is student athletics transition out of sport. Another tip is to use secondary source literature, particularly handbooks. You can look at the works that are discussed and cited in those handbooks, and a lot of times you can identify key and traditional literature in the topic area in a short amount of time by using those sources. So, accessing to a database is really simple, and I will demonstrate how to use it using the example of ERIC. First, I want to highlight that ASU libraries provide a lot of databases that cover broad spectrum of topics. On the main page, you can go to Databases tab and select E from the alphabet list to find ERIC. Or you can also select databases by subject, education, and find ERIC from education list. Also, you can go directly and search for Eric by title. You will see two options for Eric. One is provided through the US Department of Education, and then the other is provided through ProQuest. In this presentation, I will use the one that is offered by the Department of Education, but you can use the other one. The results would be similar. In the database, you will put your key term and just click the search button. From the example research project, I'll just put the term differential tuition and click search. And using this term resulted in 165 sources. The tip here is to be creative in terms of how you use the key terms. For example, if I combine differential tuition and graduation, now I have 41 sources narrowed down from 165 sources. Also, there are tools that allow you screening studies that are related to specific topics, publication dates, and so on. So try different combinations of terms and functions available on the database. Okay, so now you have, let's say, 41 sources that are related to your topic. Not all of them would be useful, and you probably need to select what is going to go into your literature. So how do you evaluate a good source for literature review for your research? First, you will need to distinguish a scholarly journal and a media journal. How do you think are they different? The major difference is that scholarly journals publish articles that have undergone review processes. Peer-reviewed journals in particular make selected experts in the field to evaluate an article, and authors need to address the feedback provided by those reviewers, then decide if the article is qualified for publication. On the other hand, media journals or popular magazines serve general interest and there is no peer review process. Also, some of them are published by commercial entities pursuing financial profit. So for literature review, you must use peer-reviewed scholarly journal. In very limited occasions, you can use media articles for providing general information about a topic, but not expect substantial and in-depth analysis from those sources. You can also consider including reports from governments, conference proceedings, and academic books. You will include literatures that are related to your topic, research subject or context, and your research question or problem. So it's all about relevance. Once you selected the literature that you will use for your review, you will need to organize them. You can do it in any ways you want, but here I will provide some options. One way to organize your sources is using reference management software such as Mendeley, RefWorks, and EndNote. You have to purchase the license for some of those programs, but some of them are publicly available. So this is an example from Mendeley, but other tools have similar structures. You can save PDF files, organize the sources by topic areas, and sort papers by authors, title, and year. Now, you will need to read the literature and start taking notes. In your memo on each study or article, you may summarize research problem, research question, data collection and analysis methods, and results and findings. There are different ways of taking notes, and I will introduce 3 of them here. First is synthesis matrix. I often use this method for my own research. On a spreadsheet, you will label each column to contain what information you will document from each study. Then for each row, you will summarize one study on the dimensions you defined. For example, for reviewing literature on college rankings, I took a note on the ranking system each study investigated, years included in the study, type of institution or program the study focused, research methods, data collection, findings, and etc. Another method is using a literature map. As you read the identified sources, you can identify the relationship between different studies in relation to the questions each study addressed or on any other dimensions. Finally, a very popular way of taking notes is annotated bibliography. For your assignment, you will create an annotated bibliography which you will then use for your literature review in your research. Basically, you will list the source of the literature, list keywords, and summarize the key aspects of the respective study in terms of what I just mentioned in the previous slide. You will also add your critique of the study or what you can learn from the article as you frame and design your own study. So you have your ingredients washed and chopped, and now you have to create a dish with them, right? Writing a literature review is not throwing each ingredient separately, but convert them into a new thing. So do not summarize each source one by one. You have to synthesize them by contrasting different arguments or highlighting similarities in different studies and explain why those differences and similarities might exist. You will conclude your literature review by summarizing major themes and highlighting what should be examined, relating it to the importance of your proposed study. Finally, you have to be careful not to plagiarize from the original sources. To avoid this problem, you can rephrase the original words from the citation. For example, you can use verbs such as found, demonstrated, showed, examined, investigated, addressed, or summarized findings using your own words. When you bring direct quotes from the study, use double quotation marks. For unique terms or concepts used by the authors, use italics. For more information, use APA guidelines, which you should be familiar already. Again, literature review is not a simple summary, but synthesis of multiple sources. So reading and critiquing others' review can help developing your own literature review. So in the class, we will do this practice together and discuss what makes a good literature review. Also, we will strategize your literature review for your research project. So I guess that is all for this week, and I will see you in the class.